Okay, today is the 5th of August 2010. Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 39, Maha Assapura Sutta, the greater discourse at Assapura. Thus I heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was living in the Angan country, at a town of the Angans named Assapura. There the Blessed One addressed the monks thus, "Monks, Venerable Sir," they replied. The Blessed One said, Recluses, monks, that is how people perceive you. And when you are asked, what are you? You claim that you are recluses. Since that is what you are designated and what you claim to be, you should train thus. You will undertake and practice those things that make one a recluse, that make one a brahmana, so that our designations may be true and our claims genuine, and so that the services of those whose robes, alms, food, resting place, and medicinal requisites we use shall bring them great fruit and benefit, and so that our going forth shall not be in vain, but fruitful and fertile. Stop here for a moment. This word recluses is samana. Originally, the Brahmin caste in Pali is called Brahmana. They were supposed to be the ascetic class, the class of holy men who practice the holy path. And other people, when other people renounce, since they don't belong to the Brahmin caste, they are called samanas. So like our Buddha was called Samana Gautama. So this word, although it's translated here as recluses, it also means monk. And the Brahmana caste originally was supposed to be holy men, but later when they became advisors to the kings, they started to acquire property, wives, slaves and everything. So later they were known as Brahmins. So Brahmana is used in the sense here as a holy man. We will undertake and practice those things that make one a recluse, that make one a Brahmana. So here the Buddha says, you claim to be monks, you claim to be samanas, and you should live up to your name. You should undertake those practices that make you a recluse. And what monks are the things that make one a recluse, that make one a brahmana? Monks, you should train thus. We will be possessed of shame and fear of wrongdoing. Hiri otapa. Now monks, you may think thus, we are possessed of shame and fear of wrongdoing. That much is enough, that much has been done. The goal of recluseship has been reached. There is nothing more for us to do, and you may rest content with that much. Monks, I inform you, I declare to you, you who seek the recluse's status, do not fall short of the goal of recluseship, while there is more to be done. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying that a monk should possess a sense of shame and fear of wrongdoing. These two qualities, the Buddha said in one sutta, protect the world. If people do not have a sense of shame and fear of wrongdoing, they can do almost anything. So for a monk, this is even more important, not to do those things that are shameful and do those wrongdoings that will drag one to the evil, the woeful plains of rebirth. What more is to be done? Monks, you should train thus. Our bodily conduct shall be purified, clear and open, flawless and restrained, and we will not laud ourselves and disparage others on account of that purified bodily conduct. Now monks, you may think thus, we are possessed of shame and fear of wrongdoing, and our bodily conduct has been purified. That much is enough, that much has been done. The goal of recluseship has been reached. There is nothing more for us to do, and you may rest content with that much. Monks, I inform you, I declare to you, you who seek the reclusive status, do not fall short of the goal of recluseship, for there is more to be done. What more is to be done? Monks, we should train thus. Our verbal conduct shall be purified, clear and open, flawless and restrained, and we will not laud ourselves and disparage others on account of that purified verbal conduct. Now monks, you may think thus, we are possessed of shame and fear of wrongdoing. Our bodily conduct has been purified, and our verbal conduct has been purified. That much is enough, and you may rest content with that much. Monks, I inform you, I declare to you, you who seek the reclusive status, do not fall short of the goal of recluseship, while there is more to be done. What more is to be done? Monks, we should train thus. Our mental conduct shall be purified, clear and open, flawless and restrained, and we will not laud ourselves and disparage others on account of that purified mental conduct. Now monks, you may think thus, we are possessed of shame and fear of wrongdoing. Our bodily conduct and verbal conduct has been purified, and our mental conduct has been purified. That much is enough, and you may rest content with that much. Monks, I inform you, I declare to you, you who seek the reclusive status, do not fall short of the goal of recluseship, while there is more to be done. What more is to be done? Monks, we should train thus. Our livelihood shall be purified, clear and open, flawless and restrained, and we will not laud ourselves and disparage others on account of that purified livelihood. Now monks, you may think thus, we are possessed of shame and fear of wrongdoing. Our bodily conduct, verbal conduct and mental conduct have been purified, and our livelihood has been purified. That much is enough, and you may rest content with that much. Monks, I inform you, I declare to you, you who seek the reclusive status, do not fall short of the goal of recluseship, while there is more to be done. I'll stop here for a moment. So after the possessing a sense of shame and fear of wrongdoing, the Buddha here goes into sila, moral conduct. Moral conduct here is in terms of bodily conduct, verbal conduct, and mental conduct, plus livelihood. All these four things should be purified. Basically, body conduct is not to kill, steal, or commit adultery. And verbal conduct is not to lie, not to carry tales to cause quarrels and disharmony, not to speak coarse or foul language, and not to speak gossip. And mental conduct is to have right view, not wrong view. That means believing in karma vipaka, believing that there is planes of rebirth, there's a round of rebirths, and believing that there are holy men. And besides that, mental conduct also is not to be covetous, over greedy of others' things, and also not to have ill will, angry all the time. That is mental conduct. And livelihood is to earn livelihood, to sustain oneself in a way as not to harm others. But for a monk, it's a bit more. It's not to speak ill of another monk, speak ill of others, and not to talk about your attainments or hidden about your attainments, and not to belittle others. All this is right livelihood for a monk. In the Noble Eightfold Path, the Sila part consists of right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Right speech is the four precepts I just mentioned. Right action is not to kill, not to steal, not to commit adultery. And right livelihood is to get your livelihood in a way that does not harm others. What more is to be done? Monks, we should train thus. We will guard the doors of our sense faculties. On seeing a form with the eye, we will not grasp at its signs and features, since if we left the eye faculty unguarded, evil, unwholesome states of covetousness and grief might invade us. We will practice the way of its restraint. We will guard the eye faculty. We will undertake the restraint of the eye faculty. Similarly, on hearing a sound with the ear, smelling a odor with the nose, tasting a flavor with the tongue, touching a tangible with the body, cognizing a thought or mind object with the mind. We will not grasp its signs and features, since if we left the faculties unguarded, evil, unwholesome states of covetousness and grief might invade us. We will practice the way of their restraint. We will guard the faculties. We will undertake the restraint of the faculties. Now, monks, you may think thus: we are possessed of shame and fear of wrongdoing. Our bodily conduct, verbal conduct, mental conduct, and livelihood have been purified, and we guard the doors of our sense faculties. That much is enough, and you may rest content with that much. Monks, I inform you, I declare to you, you who seek the recluse's status, do not fall short of the goal of recluseship, while there is more to be done. I stop here for a moment. So here, guarding the doors of the sense faculties is not to pay too much attention at the sense doors, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touch, and thoughts. Because if we pay too much attention, then we start to notice those things that are attractive, and attractive forms or sounds or smells, etc. And once we note that, then the tendency to crave for it will arise. So instead, in the practice of sati, we're supposed to put our attention on four objects of sati: the body, feelings, mind, and Dhamma. Dhamma means the Buddha's Dhamma, the Buddha's teachings. So this guarding the sense faculties, not to pay too much attention at the six sense doors, worldly objects. So here it says, if we left the faculties unguarded, even evil and wholesome states of covetousness and grief might invade us. Covetousness arises when you are attracted by the sense object. You want to covet it, you want to possess it, whether it is forms or sounds or smells or taste and all that. And if you cannot get it, then grief will arise. So you have these two extremes. Either you covet something and you can't get it, you get grief. And what more is to be done? Monks, you should train thus. We will be moderate in eating, reflecting wisely. We will take food neither for amusement, nor for intoxication, nor for the sake of physical beauty and attractiveness, but only for the endurance and continuance of this body, for ending discomfort, and for assisting the holy life. Considering, thus I shall terminate old feelings without arousing new feelings, and I shall be healthy and blameless, and shall live in comfort. Now, monks, you may think thus: we are possessed of shame and fear of wrongdoing. Our bodily conduct, verbal conduct, mental conduct, and livelihood have been purified. We guard the doors of our sense faculties, and we are moderate in eating. That much is enough, and you may rest content with that much. Monks, I inform you, I declare to you, you who seek the recluse's status, do not fall short of the goal of recluseship, while there is more to be done. Stop here for a moment. So here we come to moderation in eating. Pujanya Matanyutta. This moderation in eating, we eat for the endurance and continuance of this body, and for assisting the holy life. Thinking, thus I shall terminate old feelings. This old feelings refers to the hungry feelings. If you eat to terminate the hungry feelings without arousing new feelings. New feelings are the feelings of greed. If you taste something good, the tendency to be greedy is aroused. So that's the meaning of terminating old feelings without arousing new feelings. What more is to be done? Monks, you should train thus. We will be devoted to wakefulness, Jagaryanu Yoga. During the day, while walking back and forth and sitting, we will purify our minds of obstructive states. In the first watch of the night, while walking back and forth and sitting, we will purify our minds of obstructive states. In the middle watch of the night, we will lie down on the right side in the lion's pose with one foot overlapping the other, mindful and fully aware After noting in our minds the time for rising, after rising in the third watch of the night, while walking back and forth and sitting, we will purify our minds of obstructive states. Now monks, you may think thus, we are possessed of shame and fear of wrongdoing. Our bodily conduct, verbal conduct, mental conduct and livelihood have been purified. We guard the doors of our sense faculties. We are moderate in eating and we are devoted to wakefulness. That much is enough, and you may rest content with that much. Monks, I inform you, I declare to you, you who seek the recluse's status, do not fall short of the goal of recluseship, while there is more to be done. Stop here for a moment. So here, devotion to wakefulness, a monk during the day, he walks back and forth and sits and purify the mind of obstructive states. That means a monk is supposed to practice meditation, either sitting or walking meditation throughout the day, so not to put your attention on the six sense objects, including thinking. If we talk and we also think, we also use our mind in the wrong way. So a monk is supposed to only practice meditation throughout the day. The first watch of the night refers to night is the night is from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. and that is broken into 3 watches of 4 hours each. The first watch is from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. The middle watch or second watch is from 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. and then the third is from 2 until 6 a.m. So in the middle watch, monk is supposed to take his rest from 10 until 2. In Malaysian time, it would probably be from 11 until 3, because our time is faster by 1 hour compared to Thailand. So in the middle watch, it says here, lie down also, you're supposed to practice. Here it says mindful and fully aware. Actually, the Pali word is sati sampajanya. We still practice sati sampajanya. Sati is recollecting your meditation object. Now, for example, if you are doing the 32 parts of the body, even you lie down to sleep also, you're supposed to keep awake by chanting the 32 parts of the body. And fully aware means maintain your wakefulness, which is hard to do for a normal mind, which is not strong enough. It's very difficult to maintain your wakefulness throughout the night and the day. But that is the Buddha standard. So here, Buddha standard, you see, is only resting for 4 hours in a day. And also to be aware during those 4 hours. And also you note the time 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. Now medical research says that is the time our body and our organs shut off. Our organs tend to shut off. That's the time to take a rest. So there are some people like drug addicts. They stay awake throughout the night. They are stressing the body. That is not the right time to stay awake. That's the right time to take a rest during the middle watch. So you see here, a monk is supposed to strive to maintain this meditation, this wakefulness throughout the day and throughout the night. What more is to be done? Monks should train thus. We will be possessed of recollection and full awareness. We will act in full awareness when going forward and returning. We will act in full awareness when looking ahead and looking away. We will act in full awareness when flexing and extending our limbs. We will act in full awareness when wearing our robes and carrying our outer bowl and robe. We will act in full awareness when eating, drinking, consuming food and tasting. We will act in full awareness when defecating and urinating. We will act in full awareness when walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, waking up, talking and keeping silent. Now monks, you may think that we are possessed of shame and fear of wrongdoing. Our bodily conduct, verbal conduct, mental conduct and livelihood have been purified. We guard the doors of our sense faculties. We are moderate in eating. We are devoted to wakefulness. And we are possessed of mindfulness and full awareness. That much is enough. That much has been done. The goal of recluseship has been reached. There is nothing more for us to do. And may rest content with that much. Monks, I inform you, I declare to you, you who seek the reclusive status, do not fall short of the goal of recluseship, while there is more to be done. Let's stop here for a moment. So here, although the translation is mindfulness and full awareness, actually sati sampajanya, recollection and full awareness or mindfulness. Whatever we do, we are fully aware. And also, although here it doesn't say so, you're also supposed to maintain your recollection of your meditation object. What more is to be done? Here monks, a monk resorts to a secluded resting place, the forest, the root of a tree, a mountain, a ravine, a hillside cave, a charnel ground, a jungle thicket, an open space, a heap of straw. I'll stop here for a moment. So we see here, seclusion for a monk is very important. It's part of the monk's practice. Here, what is listed here in this sutta is all practice of a monk, charana, or conduct of a monk. When you compare this with the earlier list we saw, we find here we have this moderation in eating, which was not in the earlier sutta we read, and also devotion to wakefulness. But that was something I mentioned the other day. So it is a combination of these suttas. We collect all these factors of charana, conduct. That's how we came up with 10 factors. Where somebody like Lady Sayadaw, I think he collected only based on 1 or 2 suttas, he came up with only 7 or 8 factors. So, on returning from his alms round after his meal, he sits down, folding his legs crosswise, setting his body erect, and establishing mindfulness before him. Abandoning covetousness for the world, he abides with the mind free from covetousness. He purifies his mind from covetousness. Abandoning ill will and hatred, he abides with the mind free from ill will, compassionate for the welfare of all living beings. He purifies his mind from ill will and hatred. Abandoning sloth and torpor, he abides free from sloth and torpor, percipient of light, mindful and fully aware. He purifies his mind from sloth and torpor. Abandoning restlessness and remorse, he abides unagitated, with the mind inwardly peaceful. He purifies his mind from restlessness and remorse. Abandoning doubt, he abides having gone beyond doubt, unperplexed about wholesome states. He purifies his mind from doubt. Stop here for a moment. So here is a description of the abandonment of the hindrances. As I mentioned before, when you look at abandoning sloth and torpor, he abides free from sloth and torpor, percipient of light. So light wells up from within him when he abandons sloth and torpor. Monks, suppose a man were to take a loan and undertake business, and his business were to succeed so that he could repay all the money of the old loan, and there would remain enough extra to maintain a wife. Then, on considering this, he would be glad and full of joy. Or suppose a man were afflicted, suffering and gravely ill, and his food would not agree with him, and his body had no strength. But later he would recover from the affliction, and his food would agree with him, and his body would regain strength. Then, on considering this, he would be glad and full of joy. Or suppose a man were imprisoned in a prison house, but later he would be released from prison, safe and secure, with no loss to his property. Then, on considering this, he would be glad and full of joy. Or suppose a man were a slave, not self-dependent, but dependent on others, unable to go where he wants. But later on, he would be released from slavery, self-dependent, independent of others, a free man, able to go where he wants. Then, on considering this, he would be glad and full of joy. Or suppose a man with wealth and property were to enter a road across a desert, but later on he would cross over the desert, safe and secure, with no loss to his property. Then, on considering this, he would be glad and full of joy. So too monks, when these 5 hindrances are unabandoned in himself, a monk sees them respectively as a death, a disease, a prison house, slavery, and a road across a desert. But when these 5 hindrances have been abandoned in himself, he sees that as freedom from death, healthiness, release from prison, freedom from slavery, and a land of safety. I'll stop here for a moment. So from this description of abandoning the hindrances, the similes given here are quite clear that the abandonment of the hindrances are permanent. It's not like what some people say, that you only abandon the hindrances when you are in jhana. But when you come out of jhana, they come back. But here you see the description is like is freed from death. Free from death means he's permanently free from death. It's not just for 5 minutes. He's free from death. He's healthy, no more sick. He's released from prison. He's released from slavery. He's crossed to the land of safety. All this indicates that this abandonment of the hindrances quite permanent. Although, of course, you could say that if a person is free from death, later he can still get into death. Or he's released from prison, later he can be still put into prison. That's not likely. Having abandoned these 5 hindrances, imperfections of the mind that weaken wisdom, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, he enters upon and abides in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied and sustained thought, with delight and pleasure born of seclusion. He makes the rapture and pleasure born of seclusion drench, steep, fill and pervade this body, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the delight and pleasure born of seclusion. Just as a skilled bathman or a bathman's apprentice heaps bath powder in a metal basin and sprinkling it gradually with water, kneads it until the moisture wets his ball of bath powder, soaks it, and pervades it inside and out, yet the ball itself does not ooze. So too, a monk makes the delight and pleasure born of seclusion drench, steep, fill and pervade this body, so that there is no part of this whole body unpervaded by the delight and pleasure born of seclusion. Stop here for a moment. Here this description is quite important and quite instructive for a monk in practicing meditation, because here he says after a monk attains the first jhana, he's supposed to make that delight and pleasure fill his whole body. Fill his whole body. In other words, he's aware of his body. Whereas initially when a monk meditates, as he gets into his mind, he might not be aware of the body. But in this case, after he attains the first jhana, this is the Buddha's instruction, is to make him pervade the body with delight and pleasure. So he has to become aware of his body and pervade it. So this is one thing. Actually, it is only in the arupas or arupa jhana that the 5 senses close. Not in rupa jhana. Again, monks, with the stilling of applied and sustained thought, a monk enters upon and abides in the second jhana, which has self-confidence and singleness of mind, without applied and sustained thought, with delight and pleasure born of concentration. He makes the delight and pleasure born of concentration drench, steep, fill and pervade this body, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the delight and pleasure born of concentration. Just as though there were a lake whose waters welled up from below, and it had no inflow from east, west, north, or south, and would not be replenished from time to time by showers of rain. Then the cool fount of water welling up in the lake would make the cool water drenched deep, fill and pervade the lake, so that there is no part of the whole lake unpervaded by cool water. So too a monk makes the delight and pleasure born of concentration drench, steep, fill and pervade this body, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the delight and pleasure born of concentration. Stop here for a moment. So here again, this simile shows that the monk is supposed to use his will so that this piti and sukha will pervade the body. In the first jhana, he has to make more effort, just like the man has got to knead the ball of bath powder, knead with his hand and make it pervade, the moisture pervade the bath powder. So in the same way, this monk has to make more effort in the first jhana. But in the second jhana, although he still uses his will, but it would seem from the simile that it is easier, because just like the water, the cool water rises up from the bottom, wells up from below. So in the same way, his delight and pleasure wells up from below him and pervade the body. But still you notice that he has to use the will. This is a strong contrast to the Visuddhimagga description of jhana. In the Visuddhimagga description of jhana, seems like you are not in control of you cannot think at all, and you cannot use your will or so. So you have to be very careful. Sometimes if you don't investigate the suttas enough, you don't see the contradiction between the suttas and later books like the Visuddhimagga. Again, monks, with the fading away as well of delight, a monk abides in equanimity, mindful and fully aware, still feeling pleasure with the body. He enters upon and abides in the third jhana, on account of which noble ones, Aryans, announce, he has a pleasant abiding who has equanimity and is mindful. He makes the pleasure divested of delight, drench, steep, fill and pervade this body, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the pleasure, divested of delight. Just as in a pond of blue or red or white lotuses, some lotuses that are born and grow in the water thrive immersed in the water without rising out of it, and cool water drenches, steeps, fills and pervades them to their tips and their roots, so that there is no part of all those lotuses unpervaded by cool water. So too a monk makes the pleasure divested of delight, drench, steep, fill and pervade this body, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the pleasure divested of delight. Again, monks, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain, and with the previous disappearance of joy and grief, a monk enters upon and abides in the fourth jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, and purity of mindfulness, or complete purity of recollection and equanimity, complete purity of sati and upekkha, recollection and equanimity. He sits pervading this body with a pure, bright mind, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the pure, bright mind. Just as though a man was sitting covered from the head down with a white cloth, so that there would be no part of his whole body unpervaded by the white cloth, so too a monk sits pervading this body with a pure, bright mind, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the pure, bright mind. Stop here for a moment. So you see, initially, when a monk attains the elimination of sloth and torpor, he's percipient of light. This sloth and torpor is a darkness in the mind. So when he gets rid of the this sloth and torpor, this light arises. But in the fourth jhana, this light is so strong that it pervades the whole body. His whole body is bright. When his concentrated mind is thus purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldy, steady and attained to imperturbability, he directs it to the knowledge of the recollection of past lives. Stop here for a moment. So you see here, this description of the mind as being purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldy, steady, and attained to imperturbability, refers to the fourth jhana. Only when a person attains the fourth jhana, that the mind becomes so purified, bright, and wieldy. That means can be used, malleable, can be used in whatever direction the meditator wants. So here he directs that mind to the knowledge of the recollection of past lives. And he recollects his manifold past lives, that is 1 birth, 2 births, 3, etc., thousands and aeons of world cycles. Thus with the aspects and particulars he recollects his manifold past life. Just as a man might go from his own village to another village, and then back again to his own village. He might think, I went from my own village to that village, and there I stood in such a way, sat in such a way, spoke in such a way, kept silent in such a way. And from that village I went to another village, and there I stood in such a way, sat in such a way, spoke in such a way, kept silent in such a way. And then from that village I came back again to my own village. So too, a monk recollects his manifold past lives. Thus with the aspects and particulars he recollects his manifold past lives. When his concentrated mind is thus purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldy, steady, and attained to imperturbability, he directs it to the knowledge of the passing away and reappearance of beings. Thus with the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, he sees beings passing away and reappearing, inferior and superior, fair and ugly, fortunate and unfortunate, and he understands how beings pass on according to their actions. Just as though there were 2 houses with doors, and a man with good sight standing there between them saw people entering the houses and coming out and passing to and fro. So too, with the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, amongst these beings passing away and reappearing, and he understands how beings pass on according to their actions or karma. When his concentrated mind is thus purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldy, steady, and attained to imperturbability, he directs it to the knowledge of the destruction of the taints. He understands as it actually is. This is suffering, this is the origin of suffering, this is cessation of suffering, this is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. These are taints, this is the origin of the taints, this is the cessation of the taints, this is the way leading to the cessation of the taints. When he knows and sees thus, his mind is liberated from the taint of sensual desire, from the taint of being, and from the taint of ignorance. When it is liberated, there comes the knowledge it is liberated. He understands, birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived, what had to be done has been done. There is no more coming to any state of being. Just as if there were a lake in a mountain recess, clear, limpid, and undisturbed, so that a man with good sight, standing on the bank, could see shells, gravels, and pebbles, and also shoals of fish swimming about and resting. He might think, there is this lake, clear, limpid, and undisturbed, and there are these shells, gravels, and pebbles, and also these shoals of fish swimming about and resting. So too a monk understands that this actually is suffering, is the origin of suffering, etc. He understands birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived, what had to be done has been done, there is no more coming to any state of being. Monks, a monk such as this is called a recluse, a brahmana, a holy man, one who has been washed, one who has attained to knowledge, a holy scholar, a noble one, an arahant. Stop here for a moment. Here, a monk has finished his work. He is really a samana, a recluse, a brahmana, holy man, one who has been washed. In the Indian tradition, when a disciple finishes the training, then he undergoes a ceremonial bath. So he is bathed. That's why here It says one who has been washed, that means he has completed his training of the holy life. One who has attained to knowledge, a holy scholar. Holy scholar is one who has the holy knowledge, the holy knowledges, a noble one, an arahant. And how is a monk a recluse? He has quieted down evil, unwholesome states that defile, bring renewal of being, give trouble, ripen in suffering, and lead to future birth, aging, and death. That is how a monk is a recluse. And how is a monk a brahmana? He has expelled evil, unwholesome states that defile, and lead to future birth, aging, and death. That is how a monk is a brahmana. And how is a monk one who has been washed? He has washed off evil, unwholesome states that defile, and lead to future birth, aging, and death. That is how a monk is one who has been washed. And how is a monk one who has attained to knowledge? He has known evil, unwholesome states that defile, and lead to future birth, aging, and death. That is how a monk is one who has attained to knowledge. And how is a monk a holy scholar? The evil, unwholesome states that defile, and lead to future birth, aging, and death have been streamed away from him. That is how a monk is a holy scholar. And how is a monk a noble one? Evil, unwholesome states that defile and lead to future birth, aging, and death are far away from him. That is how a monk is a noble one. And how is a monk an arahant? Evil, unwholesome states that defile, bring renewal of being, give trouble, ripen in suffering, and lead to future birth, aging, and death are far away from him. That is how a monk is an arahant. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. This is the end of the sutta. So here the Buddha is giving the steps a monk should take so that he is truly a samana, truly a brahmana. He starts with having a sense of shame and fear of wrongdoing. Then he purifies his these three conducts: body, verbal, and mental conduct, and livelihood. And then he guards his sense faculties, moderate in eating, devoted to wakefulness, possessed of recollection and full awareness. And then he goes to a secluded place and meditates, and there he abandons the hindrances and attains the 4 jhanas. And after attaining the 4 jhanas, when the mind is purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, then he directs it to the various knowledges and becomes enlightened and completes all the practice of a monk. Then is truly a monk, an arahant.